don't think any of these go into it.
Based on the rules that have been laid out
Let's take a
for
look at
us,
these.
even if more than one person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together at this.
That is how the rule was explained to us.
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
Ah.
Based on the rules that have been laid out for
Well,
us,
it's hammer, broken
even
wristwatch.
if more than one
Tarp.
person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can
Crap.
graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together on this.
I
That
don't
is
know.
how the rule was explained to us.
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
Based on the rules that have been laid out for us, even if more
I can
than
try it
one
this way.
person
Impossible
is
to
complicit
two
in the
murders doesn't even
murder,
make sense, but maybe
only
two
the
murders to
one who
impossible will.
actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true,
Okay, yeah.
No, that's wrong.
Since there were two murders, it's at least plausible that more than one person was involved.
What do you mean?
If there'd only been one murder, then yes, the idea of an accomplice isn't really worth considering. Naturally, if only one person can be saved per murder, an accomplice has no risk versus reward benefit.
Risk versus
Yeah,
reward.
you're using big,
Benefit?
big names.
The payoff for working together. The reward that balances out the risk of taking part in a scheme. There's no point in being someone's accomplice if there's no benefit
Absolutely.
to you. However, if there were some potential mutual reward for the risk, then cooperation becomes possible.
You're saying that two people could act as each other's accomplices to commit two separate murders.
Yes.
I think that's what the true killer told Hifumi. They would each have an accomplice for their crime. And based on the case's events, Hifumi would have been the first one to act, murdering Taka.
Okay, that's what I was trying to struggle with. I was like, Hifumi seems like the one who did all this, but it also seems like Celeste was in on it.
They made him carry out the first murder so he couldn't back out of helping them later on.
So in this case, there wasn't one single person committing multiple murders. Instead, each person killed someone, creating two separate incidents. And it only looked like one person because that's how the true killer designed it to look. A single suspicious individual, a similar weapon used in each crime,
Alright.
disappearing bodies. By creating one seamless set of circumstances, they made it look like one person was behind it all.
The mastermind picked their target and managed to convince him to go along with their plan. And then, to avoid the no accomplices rule, they simply killed their accomplice.
So the question is, who did Hifumi think they were killing? Oh, I guess Hifumi killed Taka, so it didn't matter to Hifumi who else got killed.
Which, if true, means that betraying Hifumi was part of the plan from the very beginning.
that's just awful. How could anyone be so cruel?
You think so? I can't help but admire its cunning. Still, their choice of accomplice seems odd.
Kilpinson knows that fact from the very beginning. Why she said not to look at a series of connected events, but separate incidents. Kilpin really is amazing, although, when you think about it, she's almost too amazing. It's almost unnatural how good she is at
I
this.
understand how an accomplice could be involved.
They're sure trying to sell me on the idea that
Who was
Kyoko's the
one
mole.
pulling Hifumi's strings?
That's problem numero uno right now.
Yep. I had that one from the beginning.
Here's my answer. It was Celeste.
Ah, so I'm the suspicious individual now.
You certainly are. I'm sorry, you didn't like the thing I accidentally gave you.
I really do hate this kind of joke.
A joke? I wonder.
So what you are saying, then, is that I specifically chose to work together with Hifumi. The idea that I would choose to spend any amount of time interacting with him, that I would go within 10 feet of that shit from brains, that lazy, worthless, goddamn idiot!
Wow, you certainly have some personal experience with him then.
Pardon-moi.
Just to be clear, there is evidence to support it.
Is that so?
It is. Throughout the investigation, there was certain behavior that was common only to the two of you. Considering what we've learned so far, it only further proves that the two of you were working together.
Yep.
Shoot!
Oh, I just looked for something that they both did.
I got it!
Okay, whoops. That was
The
my bad.
behavior they had in common has to do with the suspicious individual in the suit, doesn't it? The only ones who ever actually saw Robo Justice firsthand were Celeste and Hifumi.
Shush. The adults are talking now.
What?
Sorry.
As he said, only Celeste and Hifumi ever laid eyes on the costumed individual. If we accept that Hifumi was one of the culprits, we can't help but suspect what Celeste has said as well.
Are you saying everything they told
That's
us
what my
was a
case
lie?
kind of built on.
After taking Hifumi to the nurse's office, we all began our search for this individual, correct? And not too long after that, do you remember what Celeste said?
I do. She's the one I kept seeing.
We headed to the second floor specifically because of what she claimed to have seen. Next, to draw us all to the physics lab up on the third floor,
She let out a blood-curdling scream.
and when we'd all come to see what was wrong, what was it she said?
Yep. That's what I picked up on.
Once she'd done her job of getting us all up to the physics lab, it was time for her partner to get to work.
It was to get us to divide into two groups. So that we would discover both bodies at the same time?
In fact, Celeste was precisely the one who proposed that we split up. Well, if Celeste and Hifumi were working together, all those chance
Yep.
events suddenly become connected.
Sounds like I was right.
And on top of that, that piercing cry of yours early on. That was to signal Hifumi, wasn't it? It was your way of telling him, we're on the third floor. Everything's going according to plan. Why else would you let out a scream that could have carried across the sea?
I just realized another strange thing.
Oh, do tell.
When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, who we now know was only pretending to be dead, Celeste, you were the first one to say he'd been murdered. You wanted to make sure we wouldn't have any doubt in our minds.
That's not really all that suspicious in and of itself.
I don't believe it. Everything, the whole thing was one big
It
act.
certainly looks like it.
Hina, you were with Celeste when Hifumi's body disappeared, right?
Yeah. I was feeling kind of sick, so Celeste took me to the bathroom.
Whose idea was it?
Wait, then that was...
She wasn't worried about you. She just saw a chance to help Hifumi sneak out of the nurse's office.
Each piece isn't much by itself, but start putting them together and the picture gets very
I wonder if
ugly
Celeste
indeed.
gave like food poisoning to Hina.
Wouldn't you agree, Celeste?
I have no idea what you mean.
Don't bother trying to deny it. You made one fatal mistake.
Actually, two.
Oh, did I?
I didn't even catch it myself when you first said
I
it,
did.
But looking back, I can say that that one little slip-up was your undoing.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about what you said after Hifumi's body disappeared and we returned to the nurse's
Yep.
office.
They must really be enjoying this. Instead of standing around fighting the confused. Just like those guys did. I totally picked up on that as soon as you said it.
I remember her saying that too, but I don't understand what's so strange about it.
Then pay attention. Sakura, Toko, and I were first to discover Taka's body in the equipment room. Then Makoto showed up and told us Hifumi had been killed. So Sakura and I left with Makoto. Once we were in the hall, we ran into Celeste, and the four of us headed to the nurse's office. Now, the entire time we were together, none of us said anything about Taka being dead. Think about it. Celeste's comment doesn't make sense. It was completely out of place.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Although
Well, she knew Taka was dead, and she had no way of knowing that.
You hear that, Celeste? Everyone's having some trouble understanding. Could you repeat what you said? If you're really not the culprit, you shouldn't have any problem repeating it, right?
Oh, come on.
All right.
Let me see what her account actually says.
Said was, they must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. They must be positively elated. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those guys died.
Those guys will have to counter.
And that is all I said.
And that's all it takes to finish this. It's obvious.
It is, I just don't know how to...
What was so strange about Celeste's comment?
All I said was, they must really be enjoying
There we
this.
go.
Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. They must be positively elated. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those...
Bam.
No, that's wrong.
Alright.
That's right. There's no reason Celeste should have said, just like those guys died. When she said that, none of us had told her Taka was dead.
Exactly. And we didn't run into her until after we were all out in the hall. So there was never any chance for her to have seen his body in the equipment room for herself.
So how did you know, Celeste? How did you know more than one person had been killed? And how did you know they were both guys?
Yep.
Because Kyoko had also disappeared, right? So she could have been dead too.
You all have such vivid imaginations. You know that?
Imaginations.
You claim that I was lying when I told you about the suspicious person I saw. Then what about the picture I took?
Well, that's easy to stage if you were working with...
How do you explain this picture of the costumed villain dragging Hifumi away?
It has to be some kind of
Well, yeah, they were working with Hifumi.
So let's put the suit on. And then she used the camera's timer to set up the picture.
Have you so quickly forgotten? You are the only one who could have possibly fit into that suit. Plus, I happen to know that this particular camera does not have a timer. In other words, it is an unassailable fact
it's
that
not.
this is a picture of Hifumi being dragged away. If everything I told you was a lie, how can this picture exist?
Simple. Are we sure that's really a picture
are
of
not,
the
not at
suspect
all.
dragging Hifumi?
What could you possibly mean by that?
Surely there are other explanations than the one you've offered up.
No, there is no other
No,
explanation.
stop asking.
I got it!
Yep. Only one made sense.
It's not a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away. I would say it's a picture of Hifumi dragging the suspect away.
That's certainly within the realm of possibility. The one being dragged off in that picture isn't Hifumi, but the person in the robot suit. We've simply been led to believe that it's the other way around. And the strange costume might only exist to lead us astray even farther. If you saw someone wearing something like that in this situation, of course you'd notice and be suspicious.
Okay.
That's what happened! You put me to sleep and made me out to be the bad guy in all this!
Such a thing is utterly impossible.
Oh, really? Why?
Hifumi was dragging him away? Ridiculous.
Is it? I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
Then shut your mouth and allow me to educate you.
Let's see if she can.
You dressed me up in that suit after I passed out! Then you just draped me across Hifumi and had him carry my weight! You tried to make me look like the bad guy!
Like I said, ridiculous. As you can see in the picture, the suspect is standing perfectly upright. If the person inside the suit was unconscious, there's no way they could stand up straight.
Nope. Can't bend.
No, it's wrong. No. Even if the person inside the suit were unconscious,
Because
they
it can't
could
bend
still
over.
stand up like that. Because that Robo Justice suit had a certain characteristic.
That's right! They totally made a mistake when they made it, so it couldn't bend at the waist.
I'm not so sure that was a mistake. I think the suit was designed from the beginning to be used the way it was.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting expression.
Celeste and Hifumi took the suit they'd specially designed and stuffed Hiro into it.
Awesome.
That's how they were able to fake that whole thing. The point of it all was to make us believe whoever was in the suit was to blame.
Well then, I suppose this is checkmate.
Checkmate?
Oh, she's losing it.
Don't make me laugh, you idiot! What do you mean, checkmate?
Wow. Here comes her real personality.
Clearly, you want to cram me into your little guilty box. Well, there's one little problem. Have you already forgotten what Hifumi told us as he lay dying?
He was an accomplice. Of course he told us that.
When we asked him who had attacked him, his answer was quite clear, was it not? He said, and I quote, Yasuhiro. In other words, Yasuhiro Hagakure!
Wait! But my name isn't really Yasuhiro! It's actually Taro!
Your confusing statements don't make any sense. You're only making things more
Indeed.
complicated.
He did say Yasuhiro, but are we sure he was really
He's an accomplice. Of course we can't trust him.
Hiro?
What the hell are you talking about? I'll burn you alive!
Kyoko, what do you mean by that?
Think back to how Hifumi used to talk to us. How did he refer to each of us?
I got it! That's right! Our last names! He called us all by our last names!
Exactly. I know I heard him say Mr. Naegi more than once.
I had
for
not
example.
put that together.
So if Hifumi did mean to say Hiro's name, he would have said his last name, Hagakure.
I'm sure it was just incidental. By chance, his first name. Indecent?
Don't talk.
Random chance. Now isn't that a convenient explanation? No. There's no reason to think he would have said the name any different than normal. But he must have run out of energy before he could say any more.
So Hifumi was trying to tell us the last name of whoever killed him?
But the name he said doesn't apply to anyone.
But we don't know Celeste's actual name.
Well, no. Hold on. There's one person it could apply to, and that's Celeste. She never actually told us what her real name is.
What did you just say? To think You take your false accusation so far, I don't know whether to laugh or spit. Come on! Enough with your idiotic blather. Yasuhiro is a loser's name. Do I look like a loser to you? Well, do I? What? I think I've earned the right to be a little on edge.
Okay, then fill us in. What's your real name?
Make sure your ear holes are wide.
This is where the e-handbook comes in.
Listen up! My real name is Celestia Ludenberg. Could you please stop making me repeat myself over and over again?
E-handbook. Whew, he's going forever.
Hifumi was trying to tell us something. He wanted us to know the killer's last name, Yasuhiro.
If there's one person here who might have that last name,
It would have to be you, Celeste. You haven't told anyone what your real name is.
how many times do I have to tell you? My name is Celestia Ludenberg. God damn it!
How long do you plan to go on pretending?
I'm not pretending. It's the truth. And since you have no way to contradict me,
Yeah, we do.
No, that's wrong. That's it. The handbook.
what?
Anytime you turn your handbook on, it shows the owner's name when it boots up, right?
Absolutely.
Monokuma told us all about it before. So all we have to do is check her handbook, and that'll clear up everything.
That's an awful lot to gamble on a last name, though.
That's how we can find out Celeste's real name.
That's an invasion of privacy. I refuse to cooperate.
Celeste, can you please just tell us what really happened? Please.
We
Just
know
tell
what
us.
happened.
Even when I'm put in check, it's just my nature not to give up. Because until the game's over, you never know what might happen.
Fine then. Let me settle it. Let me go over the case again.
All right.
From the beginning. And shed light on all your crimes. And that'll bring everything to an end.
So, Fumi meets with the killer. I guess this is them shaking hands. Oh wow. There's lots of things hidden here. That's a terrible looking face. I would assume that would be... I don't see anything for that. I'll come back to it. They didn't hit him with a hammer. Oh. They put some sort of chemical out. I don't see any of these that look like a chemical. That's chips. And they put him into the robo suit. Let's start from the end. Good lord. This is not making a lot of sense to me. Okay. No, that doesn't help either. It's like nothing is really lining up with what I want it to be. So they put him into the suit. There's a lot of stuff with hammers here, and the hammers don't come into play yet. Act 3. Is that where they take a picture? Because there's a camera there. That may just be him showing up. No, it can't be because they've already put him in the suit. So there's nothing there for that. So this is at... That's at 6. This is at 1. They take a hammer 4. And they smashy him. Leave Justice Hammer 4 there. And they give us the camera. We go when we find there. With Justice Hammer 2. Grab the blood pack, spin it around like a maniac. Obviously the blood pack can't happen there. The blood pack's a false positive. This is where he would scream. I don't see a thing of him screaming anywhere. And then he laid the Justice Hammer 3 down, I guess. That's where he put him on the dolly.
Here's exactly what happened.
Hopefully. I probably screwed up somewhere.
Before anything, the killer persuaded someone to help carry out the murder. And that person was...
I forgot to press the button. Alright.
Hifumi. With an accomplice, the killer was able to execute a number of otherwise impossible schemes.
Awesome.
First, they convinced someone to meet them in the rec room last night at 1 in the morning. That someone they met with was Hiro. The murderous duo intended to pass Hiro off as the prime suspect. So when they met up with him, they drugged him, knocked him out, and stuffed him into the Robo-Justice suit. Next, Hifumi positioned himself to make it look like Robo-Justice was attacking them, while the killer used a digital camera to take pictures of the assault. They did all this just to create evidence that would put the suspicion on Hiro. When they were done with him, they shoved him, still unconscious, into the pool room lobby.
All right.
And then finally, at 6 a.m., they moved into the murder phase of their plan. They called Taka to the equipment room. And that's where Hifumi killed him, making it the scene of the first murder. The murder weapon was Justice Hammer 4, which was left there in the equipment room. The reason Hammer number 4 was used was to create confusion about the order of the crime.
Which that seems awfully suspicious, actually. Why would they do that when, up until now, Monokuma's always told us when the crimes happened?
For these attacks, the killers pretended to be the victims, to solidify Robo Justice as the suspect. The first fake incident was the attack in the rec room.
That's why I couldn't find any evidence there.
There, the killers wanted us to see Justice Hammer 1 and the Robo Justice pictures they'd taken. They wanted to make sure we bought the surprise attack story. The second fake incident was the attack in the library. This time, they planted Justice Hammer 2 and an injured Hifumi to sell us that story. With these two incidents, the killers were able to create a certain preconception in our minds that the suspect was increasing the size of the hammers and attacking people in order as they did. We fell right into their trap and started looking for the suspect based on that. But
wow, I'm knocking it out.
did that. We left Hifumi alone in the nurse's office. This was exactly what Hifumi was hoping for. He took a blood packet from the refrigerator and Justice Hammer 3 and turned the room into a crime scene in which he himself had apparently been brutally murdered. He let out a scream to draw us back, and when we returned, that's what we found. Meanwhile, the other group that had been out searching found Taka's body at the same time. So when we heard the body discovery announcement, we naturally assumed it was for Hifumi. We left the nurse's office, and Hifumi once again took advantage of the situation.
Yep.
He simply got up and made his escape.
That was the one piece I was missing.
When we learned his body had disappeared, we all rushed back to the nurse's office. And once again, Hifumi had the chance he was waiting for. This time, he snuck into the equipment room. He wrapped Taka's body in a tarp and used the dolly to move it all the way down to the repository. That explains how each of the bodies disappeared.
Yep.
But even Hifumi didn't know what the true killer had in mind for their final act. Their plan all along was to kill Hifumi and get rid of the one person who could betray them. And they did it using an ordinary, everyday hammer from the repository. That should cover everything that happened in this case. And the villain behind it all
Wow,
is...
first try. I'm amazing. Oh, they're kissing.
Celeste! Sorry, you lose.